All right, I think we're going to go ahead and get started as if people are still logging on. I just wanted to say hello and thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. I am Melissa Shamburik from the marketing department at the bank and will be running things kind of behind the scenes during the presentation. All attendees have been placed on mute, but if you have any questions during the seminar, please feel free to drop them in the Q&A box that should be on your screen, and we'll try to get to as many as we can near the end of the presentation. There's a lot of great information in today's webinar, and we will try our hardest to stick to the 1 hour time frame. But if we do go over and you need to drop off, feel free to do that. A recording of the full webinar will be available on the bank's YouTube probably by the end of today. At this time, I would like to introduce our presenter, Matthew Fehrmann, Vice President of Technology Solutions here at the bank. Matthew earned his MBA from Marquette University and has 18 years of professional experience in the IT industry, but has worked with computers from a very young age and says he has seen everything when it comes to internet scams and fraud, and is excited to share that knowledge with you today. Take it away, Matthew.
Good morning, good afternoon, everybody. Again, thank you for that introduction, Melissa. So today's webinar, to fight fraud in a digital world. As we all know, more and more of our transactions, both banking, shopping, and just in general have gone digital, gone to the internet, and we use these means every day to transact our daily business. So the purpose of today's webinar, I really want to start out with is not to scare you. A lot of what I'm going to present today might do that. You'll see a lot of scams that people have fallen for. You're going to see a lot of things that maybe you've heard others have run into. The purpose of this is more to educate you, as I believe knowledge is power, and inform you of the current threats that are out there. And importantly, the why. Why do people do this? The why behind these threats. At the end of this and at the end of the day, if this saves each and every one of you, even once, from some kind of online scam or fraud attempt, we've done our job. So we here at ICB take this very seriously and just want to present to all of you and try to show you all the things that are happening out there. So just a quick stat, according to the Better Business Bureau, an estimated 25.6 million consumers fall victim to fraud and scams each year. That's a pretty large number if you think about that. To follow up with that, these are just some stats I pulled from the FBI. You can see the total complaints last 5 years. From 2019 to 2020, that number, just shy of doubled. And it's in 2020, it was a $4.2 billion in losses. So again, these things are successful, and it's unfortunate that people use their knowledge and power to scam others. But that's the world we live in, where there's good, there's bad. On the right-hand side, you're going to see the number one scam type is phishing. It's also known vishing, smishing, farming. It's various ways to trick you as a consumer into giving out your information or access to your accounts. That light blue bar on the phishing one is the scary one here, is that number has doubled. We deal with it every day here at the bank of fake emails reaching our customers and us helping them through things. And as you go down that chart, you'll see each and every category has increased in 2020. So who does this affect? This affects everyone. Everyone is susceptible to this. I got to believe everybody here, you're on a WebEx, therefore you're on a computer or a mobile connected to the internet. And I'm going to guess most of you shop online, bank online, or somehow transact financially online in some manner. So this targets every one of you. It targets email accounts, landline phones, and the internet has made this a wide open market. If you think about days before the internet, how did you have to scam somebody? You'd have to personally see them, physically see them, talk to them. That changed. It can now reach anybody in your home, in your office, wherever you may be. Who's behind the scams? I think this is one that surprises a lot of people. You sometimes think, who's trying to hack my home Wi-Fi? Or, I hear a lot about, how secure is it to have Wi-Fi? What if somebody sits outside trying to hack in my house? This is usually no longer the board tech person at home or driving around trying to hack a Wi-Fi network or anything along those lines. Unfortunately, this has become very organized. Organized crime, a lot of the financial gain of the scammers has leads to terrorist funding. And the really scary part that sometimes surprises people is this is probably somebody's job somewhere. There are legit call centers set up overseas where you're going to see some of the scams I'm going to show you today have a 1-800 number associated to them. Truly, there is somebody sitting on the other side of that number in a call center, much like a Verizon or AT&T call center, that is there to answer that call. They're there to truly answer the call, act like a customer service representative, and continue down the path of trying to scam some sort of information out of you or gain access to your accounts or computer. Again, that's one that surprises many, that truly this is somebody's job, unfortunately. So what are some popular targeting methods? A lot of people wonder, how do people fall to this? Well, a lot of it has to do with surrounding current events or popular search targets. Obviously, we're all pretty aware of COVID, the stimulus packages, celebrity events, anything you hear in the news about a celebrity. Well, if you go and Google that, what'll happen is these scammers will present websites around popular events, major global events, tax season. And then one I like to highlight is pretty scary is internet search results. And what do I mean by that? Is that it is common and public knowledge to go find out what the most searched terms are. Any one of us can do that with the know-how. Unfortunately, negative people and scammers will use that same information and reverse that. They will see the current trend of searches and they will target websites around that. So again, this is somebody's job. These scammers are very intelligent, very good at what they do, and they use information available to everybody to reverse target unfortunate parties. So some of the fraud I'm going to cover today, of course, phishing, right? As you saw in that first bar graph, phishing is one of the most common reported. It's the one that I probably see the most in both in my personal and professional life. I'll cover malicious links and fake websites, what those look like, those pop-ups maybe many of you have seen. Phone call scams, just your phone rings and who's on the other end. And then what a website being compromised means, because a lot of sometimes scam does not have to come to you. It can happen later in the fact. So what is a phishing email or phishing text scams? Phishing, obviously spelled incorrectly with a PH, is basically a fake email or text that are meant to look like a legit company. I have more examples of this than I can even think of. Popular targets of this: FedEx, UPS, Amazon, PayPal, banks, DocuSign, etc. And why those? Why those companies or why those names? Well, if we think about that, again, let's reverse think about our lives. How many of you order on Amazon? I'm just going to assume a lot of hands would go up. How are those Amazon packages delivered? UPS or FedEx. Therefore, what are the chances that you as a consumer have ordered on Amazon in the last month, or maybe expecting a package from FedEx or UPS? Perfect targets, right? Send you a fake email, look like it's a tracking information, say your package has been delayed, click here to learn more, and boom, it's a fake link. Banks and DocuSign. Many of us, especially due to the pandemic, a lot of our documents are now done with DocuSign. I have a very close friend of mine that just fell victim to a fake DocuSign email that actually came from his insurance broker that was compromised. So again, I'm going to get into a little bit more how to protect yourself about that, but all of these things I have personally seen, and I'm going, many of us on this call have probably heard of somebody seeing these. And what's the goal? The goal is for you to click a malicious link. In almost all of those cases, there is a link in that email. There is a link to something that if you'd click would maybe try to get you to log in or give up some kind of personal information, or possibly drop a file or a program on your computer that you may have clicked from. At the end of the day, it is a threat actor, and what a threat actor means is kind of that guy sitting on that bag of money. A threat actor is the scammer, is the person on the other end of this scam. And it's not always a person. It could be a computer with some automated controls, but a threat actor, and you'll hear me say that a few times, is the other side of this scam. Here's some examples, and I like to show these because, again, as I said at the beginning of this, if any one of you can avoid one of these by means of this presentation, I'd be happy. We've done our job, right? So I like to show examples of what these look like. And what this is an Office 365 fake security email. I am using Office 365 every day of my life. Many of you probably are. It's not just a professional thing. Personally, you subscribe to Microsoft 365 products. That's your Word and Excel. So what is this? This is a fake email that says, hey, your account has some bad activity on it. Click here to fix this. Again, the job of this, and many of the job of phishing attempts, are a sense of urgency. They try to put a sense of urgency in you and scare you in order to click that. They do not want you to stop and think, which is going to be the number one thing I recommend in all of these, is just taking a second before you click. But right there, if you would click that, it would most likely bring you to a fake Office 365 login in which you would sign in with your legit credentials. Credentials mean username and password. And now they have your username and password for a legit site. Bank of Americans, obviously spelt incorrectly by design. But if you notice, it looks very much like the Bank of America company. Same logo, same colors, same concept. Dear online banking customer, your account's obviously been locked out. You have to click here right now or we're going to shut you out in 24 hours. Again, sense of urgency, sense of scare. How many people have a Bank of America account? Again, it's a game of numbers in this world. PayPal, another one. I'm sure many of us have used PayPal to pay for goods or services. I know myself, I have for probably 15 years. Same concept. Look at how good that looks, right? PayPal logo, PayPal colors, response required, sense of urgency. Click here to go to our resolution center. All of these links are going to be fake. In almost all cases now, PayPal, Bank of America, Office 365, whatever down the line, they're not going to provide a link to their website anymore. They're going to tell you to go to their website yourself. And that's, again, by design, because they too do not want to see you fall victim to these types of activities. This I had to laugh. I personally got this on my cell phone this past weekend. So obviously, as I was preparing for this presentation and putting this webinar together, I got this email or this text message on my phone and I laughed. I screen captured it right away, sent it to myself because how fitting is it the week I'm about to present on this? I get an attempt to myself of a phishing attempt in a text method. They're not only going after emails anymore. How did this company get my cell phone number? I have no idea. They have my name. They have my cell phone number. Now, again, do they know I shop on Amazon? That's purely a numbers game. Most of us shop on Amazon. But look at how good that looks, right? I came in first in March's Amazon Pods raffle. I'm a pretty heavy Amazon shopper. Maybe I did come in first, right? If I click that link, it would undoubtedly bring me to some kind of malicious login and maybe even possibly try to get my Amazon sign-in credentials, which truly, if you got my Amazon sign-in, now what do you have? Now you have most of my credit cards. You have my address, and you could start to purchase goods and send them wherever you'd like, because you can always add an alternate shipping address. So I had to laugh at this one because it was truly targeted at me this past weekend. So these are real. That's probably one thing to mention is as I spoke to various bank employees, as I put this presentation together, and I asked for feedback, I was even kind of amazed at the number of times I heard, oh, my daughter just got targeted with that, or my cousin just had this exact thing happen, or bank customers have come in and told us about these scams. So these are very real and happen every day. How do you protect yourself from phishing? Well, the first word there is caution, and you're going to see that theme throughout this presentation. So emails and texts can come from your contacts, not just spam fake senders. That text example was obvious, right? It came from a random number of fake sender. But as I mentioned, that close friend of mine that just fell victim to a compromised email system, it came from his insurance agent and was a DocuSign. Now, did it look like DocuSign does? No, it didn't. To me, it was very obvious. But that's because I deal with this every day. So you have to be cautious, even from people that you know. So how do you protect against that? Ask yourself, were you expecting that particular email? In my friend's case, he was not expecting documents from his insurance guy. He was not transacting business at the time. So why would he just have to suddenly sign a document? So again, it's taking that second and saying, why would I get this, out of the blue? Am I transacting business? Gut check. Does it make sense? Should I be signing something now? Why would PayPal suddenly need my login? Why am I winning Amazon's, March's raffle? And again, what's the goal? The goal is financial gain or computer access. And that is the goal of all of this. That is why we as a bank are trying to do things like this and educate not just our customers, but anybody that would want to join this webinar is we don't want to see anybody fall victim to any of this. So again, I'm going to remind this a few times. You're going to see this. This is not meant to scare you. I say this because the last thing I want to do when we get off this presentation is for any of you to be afraid to continue transacting on the internet. That is not the case of here. The case is watch out, right? Watch out to the things that are out there and protect yourself. And that's what we here at ICB want you to do. So the next scam type is a malicious web link. Well, what does that mean? A lot of times it can be a fake search result. And I'll get into some of that, what that means. Fake advertisements or legit websites with malicious links embedded. In most cases, this is something that will pop up when you're on the internet. So say you're searching for instruction manuals. This just happened to a family of mine. They were looking for an instruction manual online, because why wouldn't you, right? And they clicked the malicious link, and what popped up is something like you'll very much see in the next slide or two. So again, popular search targets, as I just said, instruction repair manuals, because why wouldn't we go to the internet to search for a repair manual? Popular headlines, COVID-19, taxes, stimulus, and top Google searches, as I mentioned before. How do these threat actors or scammers know what to target? So obviously I put a kind of a funny headline over there. More as a joke, but they will target headlines, and we all know what the popular things are in the media, in the news. It's tax time right now, so people are searching these so then they can put fake websites behind them. This is an example of a pop-up that probably has already infected the user's computer. This is an older style virus called Cryptolocker. I personally have dealt with this numerous times in my life. And it's a bug got in a computer from a fake website. Same here, flash players, a web component many of us have used on our computers. It's retired. Well, now it's a fake link that says, hey, download here to get the new flash player. What does flash player mean? It really doesn't matter for sake of this conversation. It's more so watching for this type of pop-up or type of warning and knowing that it's probably not legit. Same concept here. I kind of like this one because of the 1-800 number behind it. And that's what I mentioned before about these are people's jobs. If you'd call that 1-888-675-0931, truly you'd get somebody to answer. They would most likely be in a call center and they would try to help you fake walk through what threat was detected on your computer. Again, this one I especially liked when I saw it is Norton is a antivirus product. So, again, their job is to trick you. Norton, well, they're my antivirus. This has to be legit. I should call them because they're going to help me through this. They're going to help me figure this threat out and help solve it. Unfortunately, this would lead the victim to somewhere that they would probably rather not be. Again, same concept here. I liked these phone number ones because it likes to trick people into thinking, well, if I call, there's no way this is a virus because Microsoft's toll-free number, it says right there, right? Microsoft is going to help me through this. And again, why use the name Microsoft? Because I'm going to guess 90% of you use a Microsoft computer at home if you have one. Apple's obviously a big product out there as well, but Microsoft definitely dominates the home computer market. So again, their job is to scare you. This error, look behind it. Facebook logins, credit card details, email account logins. They're trying to scare you into thinking that right now, when this pop-up is on your screen, you are getting your information stolen. And you're not. You're not at this stage yet. And I'll explain what I recommend to do when you see these things. Unfortunately, this is the toughest one to protect against because there is no silver bullet. A website that is legit one day could be hacked the next. And a good story behind that is I knew somebody that lived in a smaller township that had a township website, just as Manitowoc does, right? We have manitowoc.gov, and people go there to find things. Well, this was a smaller town website, probably sitting on a smaller web server that an old friend of mine used to go to quite often. And one day she went to that town's website and started getting pop-ups, just like I showed you on those previous screens. So they called me, well, what is this? And I said, I looked at the website, and I too went to the website and I saw the same pop-ups. Well, what happened is a hacker got into that website and planted these malicious pop-ups. So that's why I say this is probably the hardest one to protect against, because a website you may have visited before could all of a sudden be compromised later. So you can't just say, no, this is legit because this website is something I've always gone to before. Again, what's the best thing to do in these cases? Most of these pop-ups are not legit. You don't want to click these, because the scary part is, and I have that image there for a reason, is that skip this ad in the center of that image is also clicking the image. So another way they like to trick you, and I'm going to jump back to these pictures, back to safety. If you see that blue button in the middle of that screen, well, okay, maybe as a user I say, well, no, I don't want to do this. I want to go back to safety. That is going to bring you to the same place. My typical recommendation with these and all of these that I just showed you, reach down and power off your computer. Sounds drastic. You'll lose some website you had up or a document you may have been working on, but the hardest part is because sometimes they are hard to close. In a lot of cases, the red X in the upper right-hand corner is also a clickable spot of that fake link. So I just say, you know what? Power off that computer, power the computer back on, and then go back to the internet and try to maybe avoid the site you were just on. You never want to click these pop-ups. You don't want to click the skip ad or the go back to safety or close now or no, I'd rather not do this, because in many cases, the same thing is going to happen. The next type of scam, and this is an interesting one. This is one I hear about a lot, is phone call scams. We all get phone call warranty callers. I mean, my phone probably rings 5 times a day from random numbers. Lately, a lot of companies have said potential spam. I know my caller ID says that a lot. But what is really heavily targeted in the scam world is landline phones. And why, right? Why would landline phones? Well, the landline phones, demographically speaking, is a lot of your aged population is still going to have a landline phone. They've always had one. They're used to that in their house. And what's more scary about a landline phone is that the information is public, right? I guess I don't think I get a telephone book anymore, but at one time we all got telephone books at our houses. What's in that telephone book? Well, now I have your phone number, your name, your address, and now I've got a few pieces of information that, for instance, you can't find if you have my cell phone number. So how easy does that phone call make to make now is, now Microsoft or a fake Microsoft rep can call you, and I'll tell you a story about this in just a second. Is they can call you, they can use your name, they know what city you live in, they may know what road you live on, and they can use that information to try to trick you into thinking it's a legit call. And again, what is the purpose, right? An example of a call like this would be your phone rings, you answer it. Hi, this is Microsoft. We're getting reports of your computer sending back virus information. We want to help you, right? And they're very good. They are very good at socially talking with you and gaining your trust. And they can do that because the information's out there. There's also something called grandparent scams. And this is one that we at the bank, we've seen many times. And that's just somebody calling you, could be your cell phone landline. This has nothing to do with how they call you. And saying, there's somebody in your family and they need money ASAP. They're in trouble. You got to send them, $5,000 or gift cards or something else. Now, a lot of you may think, well, I don't have grandkids. This doesn't apply to me. The problem is this is a numbers game. They don't care. You're going to hang up on them. They're going to call the next person. And eventually it's purely a numbers game. So again, it's just kind of about watching out who's calling you. What is the purpose? Again, as I said before, does the call make sense? And again, the purpose of all these, gain computer access or financial gain. So the good story I have about this is my old neighbor, And I to this day I can't believe it happened to her, because she would come over and ask me for help if her mouse batteries would die, right? So this was somebody that I would always help all the time. Well, it turns out her landline phone rang, and it was Microsoft saying that her computer was, having a problem and they were there to fix it. She said she didn't want to bother me. She thought she could handle this on her own. And she told me about this scam, and it went as far as she gave this caller access to her computer, remote control access. They installed fake antivirus on her computer. Then they pulled up screens to show her just how infected her computer was. Of course, they can put anything on your screen once they get access. Again, she thought she could handle this on her own. Microsoft was there to help her, right? Microsoft was there to help her through this. She didn't need to bother me. Well, they ended up getting her credit card information, remote controlled her computer, installed fake software, charged her credit card hundreds of dollars, and it was 100% a scam. Did she eventually move her way out of it? Yes, through lots of phone calls to her credit card company. Me, I personally removed the malicious software from her computer. But again, that's such a good example of, she told me this caller was so nice, asked how her grandkids were, asked if she had weekend plans. These people are trained. They do this all day long. As I go back to the beginning of this, where I said, this is people's jobs. And it's a numbers game. If my neighbor would have hung up on her, they would have called the next person in the phone book and the next person in the phone book, and just worked their way through. From this particular example, she paid $300 for computer services, got that malicious software installed on her computer, undoubtedly would have eventually started stealing her login, usernames, and passwords, and would have gotten worse had she not called me immediately after and said, I think I might have screwed up. Well, if you think about the numbers game, they got how much money out of her in that little bit of time, got computer access, and that could have been a lot worse had she not called me right away. But I'd like to share that story because it happened to my neighbor, right? Somebody that, I saw every day of my life. How do you protect yourself from these? Much less the rest of these, right? Caution. Does this call make sense? I'm going to promise everybody on this call, Microsoft is never going to call you and just offer to fix your computer for you. Unfortunately, they're not into that business, nor is Apple or Google or Samsung or any of the players out there that we all hold their technologies every day. And that's why those names are so easy to use, because what is the chance if somebody has a Microsoft computer, an Apple iPhone, a Samsung Galaxy phone, or some other popular technology? I always ask, say for a callback number, but even in a lot of these cases, they could give you a fake callback number. So what I would say is, if it's a Microsoft, Apple, Google type call, I would just kind of get away from that. Now there's other phone scams. Could be a fake bank phone scam. Could be something along those lines. Call your banker back, right? Don't keep going with that phone call. Could be CitiCard, MasterCard. Flip your card over. If you have a card by that vendor, call your card's number. Say, hey, did you just call me? And you're going to find most of the cases that does not happen. And as I have there, tech support isn't just calling you out of the blue to offer you assistance and help you through something like this. Website compromised and hacked. So what is this? And this is kind of what I spoke to before, is that a website you have signed into or gone to previously has been compromised. And this is one that probably all of us have heard in the news. You hear it all the time. You have the credit bureau that got hacked a while ago. Just to prepare for this, I kind of searched, websites that have had their information posted. Well, just this month, Facebook had to share that 500 million users of Facebook's, their information was published. Now, was it their username and password? It was not. It was names, phone numbers, more personal information, things that are probably public out there anyways, but it was a nice digestible format. And this is an example of a website that we use every day that attackers made their way into their system. Now, what would be the purpose of that? Well, the purpose of that is kind of what I went back to before about the phone book example, in that now somebody has a name, a phone number, and now they can start to target these people. And Facebook is popular, right? Because again, I think, I don't know what the stat is now, but high percentage of population in the world is on Facebook. Now, am I sitting here saying don't go on Facebook? Absolutely not. I myself use it. Many of you may have saw the advertisement for this webinar on Facebook. Again, it's just being cautious and understanding, how do these threat actors, how do these malicious people get our information in order to target you? Now, the next piece I love to talk about is that fraud, digital fraud, or financial fraud does not just stem from the internet, because a lot of people love to say the internet made this all happen, right? You know, it's shopping online that makes this happen. If you don't shop online, you're safe. Well, I don't know how many of you remember the Target data breach, but that was monstrous. I studied it pretty in depth because I was very curious on how it happened. Well, what happened is, for a series of time, Target, the brick and mortar store Target, not online Target, the brick and mortar store, when you went in there and used your card to purchase goods, their payment systems had a breach. And all the cards and all the payment types that were ran through Target for a set of time were breached. So they had these customers' card information and then could run away with that. So I like to highlight that because it's not the internet that has made this possible. The internet's made it easier, yes. Digital connected systems have made it easier, yes. But, you know, as I like to say, is don't be afraid of shopping online. Just be very smart about it. Be very cautious about it. At the end of this, I kind of go over some how does this all tie together tips, and I'll cover what you can do to protect yourself from things like this. But, you know, I always like to say this can happen anywhere. This is not just an internet thing or a shopping online situation. What are other scam types? I kind of mentioned grandparent scams. I brought that up a couple times just because we here at the bank have dealt with this. We've had a customer that has said they have fallen victim to this. A fake, grandson needed money. They were in trouble. They had to call right away. Gift cards for payments. So this is one that, I'll be honest, even I wasn't that in the know about, but in talking to the various bankers that I've talked to on this presentation, it sounds like this is a lot more popular than I thought, is that scammers will ask for you to send them gift cards, the back of the gift card information. And I guess it makes sense because gift cards can't be traced, right? They can still go use that as a currency. And gift cards are where? They're everywhere now, right? You go to Quick Trip, you go to any gas station, any grocery store, there's a rack of gift cards right there for you to purchase. So it's a lot easier to go get gift cards from any vendor or business. And I will tell you, no legit company is asking you to pay them in some other vendor's gift cards. It's kind of an obvious one now that I guess I've read more about it. So gift cards for payments, right there is a kind of a red alert. And then fake check scams. So this is one that used to target Craigslist a lot. I sold a couple vehicles online, and I remember the emails saying, "Hey, I'll buy this vehicle from you. I'm going to send you a check. It's going to be extra, but you can keep it just because I understand this is an inconvenience for you to do this with a check. Just send me back the remainder." Or fake money orders are even better because they can look so legit. I see this on the news a lot. You'll see fake check scams going around. It can come from anywhere. Again, it's tax time, right? So you could see fake checks from, what looks like a fake IRS site. So there's a lot of these in any manner, right? Is how do people trick you into either financially rewarding them? All of these in some case want you to send money out, right? They want you to either return the extra they sent on that check or send them a payment and gift card. So here's what we'll spend some time is how does this all tie together? So at the end of the day, it's all about financial implications, right? Their goal is to financially gain. So a lot of people submitted questions prior to this presentation and said, how are my bank accounts protected? How does this happen? And that's where I wanted to kind of talk about, this can happen. It may be nothing you've ever done wrong. It could be a vendor or a business that you've used your card at before or paid for goods and services at before. I use the Target one because that's brick and mortar, and any website that you purchase from, this can happen with. And again, our purpose here is to just educate you, right? So in saying that, I don't want people to think it's not okay to bank online, to shop online, to use your cards online. I think now, and I didn't look up the stat on this, but banking is moving to a very digital market. More people are shopping online and banking online, mobile check deposit, and where there's good, there's bad, right? So where convenience and digital technologies have helped us, bad people have tried to reverse that and find ways to extort that. Scams are at an all-time high because the audience has expanded greatly. COVID-19 has caused many people to stay home, work from home, do more online, do more shopping online, right? I mean, now we have, think about food options, right? We have 4 or 5 different food services that'll deliver goods to your door. So your cards are everywhere, right? And that's not a bad thing. It's just important to understand how to protect your information, how to monitor your bank accounts. So one of the things I like to talk about is password complexity. So remember the example I gave before about a compromised website. So one of the best ways, I got a lot of questions in the pre-event questionnaire about how do we protect ourselves from passwords, logins, our bank logins, hackers. The number one thing I see is people using the same passwords on all their websites, or passwords that are easily reversible, such as your child's name and birth date, which is public information in most cases, or your address and your street name, or your spouse's or significant other's name and a year. So, password complexity, I know passwords are a bear. I did get some questions in regards to what are the best password keepers. I have to be careful answering questions such as that because I don't want to send you down a path and have something happen with a product or service we may recommend on behalf of the bank. But password complexity is very important, and not using similar passwords. Me personally, I have some very complex passwords I use with anything financial, and I have different levels of passwords. What you do is purely up to you, but using the same password across the board, say for that blog site or that newsletter you like to get, you use your same password as your bank. Well, if you think about that website you may have subscribed to because you want their newsletter or you want to shop on their site, they may not be as secure as your bank, right? But now that site gets hacked and that site gets your email and your password. Now the threat actor, the negative person, can go try that same username and password on your bank's website. So again, that's how a lot of people they're like, well, how did my bank password get stolen? Well, did you use that password anywhere else? Because that's a very good way to have it happen. Amazon too, right? Same concept. You use that same password you use on Amazon, but you use it on a less secure site, a site that maybe doesn't have Amazon security. Well, now they have your Amazon username and password because most likely they have your email, right? Because we sign on with email everywhere. So using your same combination of email and password is a very good way to fall victim to some of this. Because although you didn't give up that information, that site you logged into 3 months ago may have gotten compromised. So the next question is, security and challenge questions. I saw some questions in regards to that. How are these, what if the questions are provided? So I will tell you personally, I've seen it where security questions are often very common, right? Most of my security questions, if you are close enough to me, you can answer. Where was I born? Who's my brother or sister? What's my pet's name? Again, through social engineering, you can gain access to those questions. Well, in speaking with a colleague of mine here at the bank this morning, she mentioned something even I didn't think of and I thought was rather genius. I don't like to answer security questions that most people I know can answer. What's my favorite sports team? Okay, it's the Green Bay Packers. Everybody knows that. So who couldn't answer that? So she said a unique thing I thought of that was pretty slick is don't look at it as a security question as having to give your correct answer. Look at it as a question only you can answer. So if I put favorite sports team and then I answer it Investors Community Bank because instead I know to answer that as to where I work and not actually my favorite sports team, think of that for a challenge now. So I thought that was a very unique answer because a lot of places do offer the security questions. And I know in my own case, I've seen it where not a lot of them apply to me. So how do I answer these without giving very easy answers? So I thought that was a unique method to go about that. And then I had a lot of questions about, well, I have to, this was a good one. A lot of places have my bank account information because I pay my bills with my bank account. So your credit card companies, maybe Verizon, maybe your Manitowoc Public Utilities, you know, whoever your utility is, your internet providers. So a good way around that is using, you know, a bill payment system. So bill payment versus giving account access. So if you think about that, it's a push versus a pull, right? When you go give your vendor, say your utility company, your bank account information, you have to go to their website, authorize that payment, choose a date and hit submit. Okay, so you've not gone to their website to pay your bill. Now they have your bank account information. Now if your utility company were to get compromised, now your bank account information goes along with that. So what I like to recommend is instead of giving all these places your bank account information, use your financial institution's bill paying options, right? Then you can go out there and it's a one-stop bill paying. You can control the when, you can still put a date, you can still choose an amount, and put all your vendors in your bill payment system and choose to pay that way. That way you're sending the payments out, not people dipping into your bank accounts. Now there are obviously situations where that has a slight delay. They may not be set up for that same day payment. There are situations in that case that it takes a couple days. So you do have to plan a little bit ahead versus, you know, letting them pull your account. But again, our job here is to protect you, right? So the amount you can limit where you put your bank information can only help you. So one of the things we like to say too is if you feel you're falling victim to any of these types of things, is talk to your banker. As a bank, we stay well informed of these current scams. As I said, I talk to a lot of colleagues, our you know, our branch managers. I've spoke to them, and it was amazing the stories they were able to tell me that they've assisted customers in this. You know, we stay very abreast of this stuff. We have newsletters, we have communications. I'm always talking about this. So we're very in the know of the current scams at hand. As a bank, we have to stay that way. So ask your banker, you know, if you feel something a little fishy is going on. Again, it comes down to caution. It comes down to taking that second and asking yourself, does this make sense? And monitor your money. Right? I mean, I guess that's one of the biggest things is if your account has a charge or some kind of change in transaction that you're not aware of, the faster you know about it, the better. Here at ICB, we have what's called secure alerts. You can set up alerts on your account for every transaction, balance high or low. There's many different dynamic ways you can set up so that you're alerted if something funny seems to be happening. And you know, I think we should all do that. I personally do that. Again, the faster you know of something funny that may be happening can get ahead of this. You know, debit cards for online purchases. I had a lot of questions about this as well. Again, bank account access. So, you know, debit cards versus credit cards for online purchases. As we all know, a debit card is more of a direct link to your account versus a credit card is something that's settled later. We at Investors Community have fraud protection on all of this, but you know, your debit card is more of a little bit of a direct link into your checking account or savings account versus, say, a credit card. Again, all the financial institutions protect you against these things. We have fraud services in place to assist you through this. But again, it's just a little bit better way to keep you safeguarded. In summary, and I'll spend a little bit of time here, is there's no silver bullet as to how to protect against everything we talked about today. You know, there's a lot of different scam types out there. The phone call scams, I think, are probably some of the toughest to go against. And it's about awareness and caution. You know, really taking that time, taking a second and stopping and asking, does this situation make sense? You know, is this transaction expected? Is this document, were you expecting to sign this document? And I think taking caution and just asking yourself, you know, does this make sense is a huge safeguard into this. And as I mentioned, using your bank's tools, notification features, mobile tools to monitor your accounts. All of us have this. So, you know, using those tools to help is going to be a big way to safeguard from this. At this time, I guess I'd like to give some time for any questions that may have come in. I want to make sure to be able to touch base and see if anything has come in regards to any of this.
There is nothing actually that has come in yet, other than wondering if you'd be willing to share the PowerPoint slides.
I think we can do that, right? I mean, I have no problem doing that. I guess I expected some questions, so I'm done a little early. If anybody has anything now they want to send in, I think the highlight of all of this is knowledge, right? And I guess if there's no questions thus far, I want to spend a little time on that. The more you know, the better. So again, I covered a lot of very scary things, right? Using the internet, shopping online, having your card or bank information out there. It is very important to know that shopping online, banking online, it is all 100% safe. And I'm going to keep highlighting the target example because online has not made this any more unsafe. It's just made the target surface a lot greater and made it a little easier for these threat actors to gain access to your accounts. So, don't be afraid by anything you heard today. Just make sure to do everything you can to safeguard your accounts, putting in complex passwords, setting up notifications, and taking that second, if you see that malicious email, to ask yourself, does this make sense? And if, as I said, if we can stop any one of you from falling victims to any of this, we've done our job, and I'd consider that a success. So if nothing did come in.
Oh, they're starting to come in.
All right, good.
We actually have something from Serene who says maybe educate the audience on the benefits of 2FA if available.
So yes, and I was going to get into that. So 2FA is two-factor authentication. So what does that mean? When you log into a website, so I can share a little bit about this. So Kohl's, right? I have a Kohl's charge. And they were one of the first to put in what's called two-factor authentication. So when I go sign into my Kohl's account, it says you have to enter the code that we emailed you. So that's called two-factor authentication, meaning you don't just need the username and password. They're also going to authenticate that call or login did come from you. Now, I'll be honest, I used to be highly annoyed by that email. Like, I just want to get in and pay my bill and do whatever. Now I find myself signing up for two-factor authentication everywhere I find it. And a lot of it is text driven. So you sign into an account, they will text you a code, usually a 6-digit code or something along those lines, and then you have to enter that code. And it's a beautiful way to secure your accounts, because if a threat actor would get your account information, they probably aren't also getting your text messages. That would be a very far stretch. So more and more sites are doing this. I know if you get for instance, if you get a new iPhone, when you sign in iCloud, it says, hey, you need to enter the 6-digit code we just displayed on another one of your devices. So it's called two-factor authentication, multi-factor authentication. There's a lot of different words for that. A lot of financial institutions are moving more into that, and it's a great way to secure your account. So I do offer up, if any of your accounts, banking or not, offers multi-factor or two-step, it's also called two-factor authentication. It's a very good way to safeguard yourself from somebody getting your account information.
Okay. Will antivirus or anti-malware protect against any of the things mentioned today?
So that's a cautious topic for me to recommend, because I don't know your specific computer type, computer landscape. Antivirus is a question I've been asked my entire career. And there's so many levels of it. So I'm always afraid to say, yes, antivirus will help you or will not help you, because there's 20 different companies offering it. There's various levels of protection. Some go as far as checking every link you click on. Some are just there watching for a virus to be on your computer and scanning files. Unfortunately, antivirus, anti-malware is not a silver bullet. And I'm very cautious in saying it's going to stop you from falling victim to these things, because in the case of phishing, where you get that email, you click that link and you go to a fake website, that's not a virus. That's not malware. That's a fake website that is there purely to set up to collect your login information. So in that case, no, anti-malware is not going to help you. Now there's internet filtering tools out there. But again, if you went out there and purchased every tool to protect yourself in all these situations, you'd have a lot of different tools you'd have to protect. You know, we here at the bank, we do have all those tools, but our security budget is very large, and that's because we are financial institutions. So it's very tough in a consumer focus to give you some product or service that's going to help you. Again, it's all about caution and just kind of stopping and thinking, right? It's the biggest thing I tell people, because especially in the cases of those malicious links that popped up, their goal is urgency. Their goal, they sometimes call it scareware. Their goal is to scare you into acting quickly and clicking that link. So as long as you stop, and again, I'm going to say it a lot of times, think back to this presentation and say, hey, you know what, he kind of said, you know, just take a second and stop. You'd be amazed at what you'd look back on. You know, I've seen a lot of people fall victim to these, and in almost every case, their words are, I can't believe I fell for that. And it's because you act quick. We're all busy, right? We're in the middle of 5 things. You just got to click that link to get it off your screen, and boom, there you are.
Got one more. Is blocking your credit report adequate protection if you've been told some personal information is on the dark web?
That I don't know if I can answer sufficiently. I cannot say that I'm an expert in how to protect yourself if your information is out on the web. Now, I know there are many services out there that you can sign up for. I think Safe ID or Safe Link, or I forget the name of it, is one of them. That does monitor. The second there's a credit inquiry on your account, you are notified. Can I say that's 100% adequate? I can't, because does every single company that you apply for credit for report back in the same way? Do I think that's a good step? Absolutely. There are a lot of companies out there that have that protection in place for you, that does identity theft protection, right? Identity theft is a big thing. I believe I saw a story about this year's tax returns and unemployment, that there's all kinds of scams about fake unemployment, people filing for unemployment on behalf of others, because so many people are going through unemployment due to COVID-19. So again, identity theft is a huge thing, because what do you need? You need somebody's name, social, address, phone number, boom, you got it. So is there one thing that's adequate protection? Unfortunately, I can't tell you there is one thing. It is all about putting the right layers of security in place. Identity theft protection is a good layer, but that's one of many. So again, without getting into specific examples and knowing your specific situation, it's tough to answer that sufficiently in a way I'd really like to, but putting basic protection in place is definitely a good thing, especially if you think you've been exposed to this type of activity in the past.
That is it for the questions. I just wanted to thank everyone for attending today, and thank Matthew for the presentation. Just a reminder that the recording will be up on Investors Community Bank's YouTube channel probably within the next 24 hours, but hopefully by the end of today. If you'd like to refer back to it, or feel free to forward it on to anyone else who you think could benefit. Thanks again, and have a good afternoon.
Thank you, everybody. Have a great day.